Hey guys, I hope everyone's well and had a good Christmas. It's nice to bring a year to a close, isn't it? And start with a fresh start in the new year. So very much looking forward to that myself. Got a few projects on the go and things to keep me busy. But for now, just wanted to talk about two different bikes, the 310 GS BMW and the Voge 300 Rally. For anybody who saw the video, which I put out just before Christmas, I got this 310 GS out of storage and I just did a few miles on it, a bit of road, bit of trail on the way to the shops, do some Christmas shopping. And I think the conclusion in the video was that it's a really nice, good all-rounder. You know, it's an unloved bike. It's sort of got forgotten by the industry and forgotten by a lot of people, but actually it's still there, bubbling away as a really good, versatile, all-round machine that I think has been overlooked by the bikes that came out after it, and also the bikes that are about to come out, such as the 452 Himalayan and the CF Moto 450 and things like that. So, you know, it's an unloved bike, but actually it's got a lot going for it. Certainly its value proposition second hand. So people have said, well, which would you buy, one of these or a Voge 300 Rally? To be honest, it's quite an easy question to settle, but I'm going to go around the houses to try and put a bit of more meat on the bone to help people come to a similar easy conclusion. I think from the outset we've got to decide, or got to lay out what these bikes were designed to do. You know, the Voge 300 Rally was designed to mimic the CRF 300 Rally by Honda, which is a trail bike. And so everything about this bike screams trail bike. Long suspension, 21-inch front wheel, 18-inch rear wheel, big wide bars on it, good ground clearance, lots of, as I think I said, suspension travel. But all in all, it is a trail bike designed to be ridden on the trails. Now, that's not to say it can't be ridden on the road, as I proved this year riding it down to the Alps and Spain and Land's End John O'Groats. It will do road miles. It's slightly compromised in that you've not got a lot of screen protection. You've got a bench seat, which takes a little bit of something over the top to make it comfortable. You've got that big wheel, which makes it a little bit slower on the turning into the corners. And you've got that long travel suspension, which when you hit the brakes, it's got a lot of dive in it. And when you're trying to press on, obviously there's a little bit more wallow than you get with a road-tuned bike or a road-tuned suspension. So it's a trail bike, designed to be a trail bike, designed to be ridden off-road. And if you're not going to ride it off-road, probably the wrong bike for you. Also got a 920mm seat height, so for the shorter rider, it might be a little bit too tall. Personally, I don't find it unmanageable. It's not a heavy weight, it's 165 kilos, so it doesn't feel overly heavy. And actually when you sit on it, it compresses down. I'm about 5'9", 5'10", and I can manage this no problems at all. So I don't think you need to be 6 foot to manage this. But on the other hand, you've got the 310 GS, which BMW, to build it, simply took the R version of the 310, which is a little road bike, sports bike, and they put longer travel suspension on, a 19-inch front wheel rather than a 17. They put the adventure beak on it, the obligatory adventure beak. And I think that was about it, really. They didn't do too much else to turn it into an adventure bike / trail bike. So its underpinnings are road bikes. So we've got road bike underpinnings, trail bike underpinnings. And that is your clear line down the middle that separates these two bikes. Now, just as we've said that the Voge 300 Rally can do road work, well, this road bike can also do trail work. In its stock guise with its stock suspension, there's a limit to what it can do off-road, and the limit is caused by the fact that it's so soft and it bottoms out and it doesn't give you a lot of control on sort of faster or more technical or more rutted or bumpier stuff. So there is a limit, but as standard, it'll do a lot of basic trails, no problem. I mean, one of the guys, James, went down to the Stella Alpina on a stock 310, and he got to the top absolutely no problems at all. What does hamper the 310 GS a little bit is also that broad front tyre, which makes it difficult, certainly in Britain on the sloppy mud, to get any good front-end purchase, even with a knobbly tyre. You're never going to get the same slicing through mud effect that you get with the big, narrow tyre on, say, a Voge. You know, so there's always going to be a limit in this front tyre. What we've done with this bike is started to fit the tractive rear suspension and also got the tractive front shock, the rally raid kit. Also fit in we've got some noisy neighbours next door. If you can hear any banging, just to try and drown that out. But yeah, we've got tubeless spokes to go on this as well. Now, will that transform this bike into an off-road machine capable of this? Well, no, because it's still got less ground clearance. It's still only got a 19-inch front wheel rather than a 21. And even with increased suspension travel of the tractive kit, it's still not got the suspension travel of this. Equally, it's not got the ergonomics of this bike for standing up. So it's a compromise solution to the travel trail package. But what you get, obviously, is that better road manners. It's more comfortable at higher speed, and it'll sit at a higher speed than this, mainly for the gearing, maybe for the fact that it's got an extra 6 horsepower. So this will cruise at 75, 80 miles an hour, no problems at all. This is more like 60 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour. More wind buffeting, more suspension up and down in. This is a more stable road package. So it's simple, really. What do you want to do with the bike? Do you want to ride it predominantly on the trails and you want it out the crate ready to go? It's a no-brainer. Buy one of these. It's a good trail bike. You know, it doesn't need anything doing to it. To take it on more road-based adventures, you might just want a seat cover, maybe change the gearing, make it a bit more relaxed at higher speeds. But for about 80 quid, 90 quid, you could turn this into a bike that is still great on the trails, but even better or workable on the road. With this bike, you've got a bike straight out of the crate that's good on the road. You don't have to do anything to it to make it a good road bike. To make it a good off-road bike, you've got to do quite a lot to it. I mean, the total cost of the rally raid kit is getting on for £4,000 if you add the risers and the engine guards and everything else. So add 4,000 to the £4,000 you spent on it, you've got 8 grand. You know, does that make it a better bike than a standard 4 grand Voge? Well, it depends again, comes back down to what you want to do with it. But it's a good road bike, and I think that's all you've got to think about. What am I going to do with it? Am I going to spend most of my time on road and do a bit of trail? Yeah, okay, well, I'll get a 310 GS. And if I'm going to do anything a bit more aggressive off-road, I'll put some suspension on it. But that's what this is, a good road bike with some trail capability. What this is a good trail bike with some road capabilities. So very different, so coming at it from very different positions. So I think when choosing between these 2 bikes or any 2 bikes or any 3 bikes, it's always crucial to narrow down what are you going to do with it. What is the purpose the bike is going to serve, and what are the attributes that each bike brings which is going to make one bike better or worse than the other. But always remember that whichever bike you go for, in this class or any other class, there is always a compromise. There is always some ways in which one bike will be better than another. But you can't package 2 bikes together and twist them together and make the perfect bike. You can only take 2 separate bikes and make each one work in its own way. So, first of all, I won't stress over the decision. But secondly, I just very clearly and very logically decide what do I want to do with the bike. Where am I going to ride it? How am I going to ride it? Where do I want to go on it? And once you've decided that, defined that, I think choosing the right bike becomes very easy. You know, it's kind of a bread and butter decision, if I'm honest. For me, very hard to look past the value of this, but equally, for anybody after a road-based adventure bike, I think it's very difficult to look past the 310 GS because, you know, KTM's 390, they seem to be going crazy money. You know, £7,000 now for the spoke wheeler version, which is just nuts. To me, I'd save £3,000 and get a 6-month, year-old 310 GS. I think the Himalayan 452 is going to challenge this sector of the market, and what the 452 Himalayan does, and actually, in fact, the Himalayan before it, the 411 Himalayan, it spliced this market in 2, and I think that's why it was so popular, because it did work on the road. It had some really good, nice road manners. It didn't have a lot of power, but it handled on the road with a nice sure-footedness that gave people confidence and also gave people pace that belied its power. Equally, it worked quite well off-road. It worked, you know, to say it didn't have a lot of suspension travel, a lot of ground clearance, it was heavy. As a trail bike, it worked better than this did. And as a road bike, it worked better than this did. So the 411 sat right in between these 2 bikes, offered great value and therefore sold very well. I think it was a no-brainer. Why did the Himalayan sell? Well, because it offered, in a way, the best of both worlds at a low price. I think what the 452 is going to do is, again, sit right in this middle point, but with a show of suspension, could potentially be almost as good as a trail bike off-road, but with its 40 brake horsepower, be almost as good, if not better, than these road-orientated adventure bikes, which I hate to bring every video back to the Himalayan because people sort of get sick of it, but I think that's why the Himalayan has done so well and why the 452 is so well everyone's looking forward to it, because it sits in the middle. But so does the CF Moto 450 MT, which is supposed to come in at a really tempting price, almost probably as much as the Himalayan 452. And I think it's that hybrid bike that everyone has been looking for, the bike that can do the road work to get down to the Stella Alpina, and also do the off-road work in a way that excites you on the trails. It's an interesting time ahead, and roll on spring 2024, or roll on spring 2024, because I think this market is going to blow up. Last one, where is the 400cc Scrambler Triumph going to sit? Who knows? Again, maybe down the middle. Maybe down the middle. Lot happening. So yeah, Voge 300 Rally, 300cc Rally, great trail bike, straight out of the crate, ready to go. 310 GS, great bargain priced, road focused adventure bike. Happy New Year, cheers.